I also just want to see if all this will work simultaneously. Okay. It'll take a second for it to catch up.
I got you.
I also just want to see if all this will work simultaneously. Okay. Brian, it'll take a second for it to catch up.
Oh my God!
I also just want to see
delay.
if all this will work simultaneously. Okay. Brian, it'll take a second for it to catch up.
Oh my God!
Okay, it is delay. It is weird though. The loop right now. What does it look like right now?
Hang on, it's giving me an advertisement for now. That's what I call Music 52.
With that's how far along it is. It is weird though. The loop right now. What does it look like right now?
Hang on, it's giving me an advertisement for now. That's what I call.
I just want to see what happens when the window. That's how far because I can't both look at it. It's weird though. Oh my God, this is like 2 years old. What does it look like right now?
Hang on, it's giving me an advertisement for now. That's what I call.
I just want to see what happens. The noise. That's how far because I can't both look at it. It's weird though. Oh my God, this is like 2 years old. What does it look like right now?
Hang on, it's giving me an advertisement for now. That's what I call.
I just want to see what happens. The noise. That's how far because I can't both look at it. I guess I'm in both. So I can I could just leave it like this. I would just be very small. I just want to see what happens. The noise because I can't. I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just see it like I can't see. I would just be very small. I just want to see what happens. The noise because I can't. I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just see it like I can't see. I would just be very small. I just want to see what happens. The noise. I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be.
Jesus Christ!
Look at the laugh.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be. I can just be the small person in this.
You know what? It's coming out of our.
Jesus Christ!
Look at the laugh.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be. I can just be the small person in this. Pull your dick out.
Jesus
Christ! Look at the laugh.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be. I can just be the small person in this. Pull your dick out.
Jesus
Christ! Look at the laugh.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be. I can just be the small person in this. Pull your dick out.
Jesus
Christ! Look at the laugh.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be. I can just be the small person. Pull your dick out.
Jesus
Christ! Look at the laugh.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be. I can just be the small person. Pull your dick out.
Jesus Christ! Badass.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be smaller version. I can just be the small person. Pull your dick out. I don't know how.
Badass.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be smaller. I can just be the small person. Pull your dick out. I don't know how.
Badass.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be smaller. I can be
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be smaller. I can be
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be smaller. I can be
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be smaller. I can be
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll just be smaller. I can be
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I could just screen and I'll YouTube. I can our live.
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
Oh, I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I can our live.
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
Do it. Oh, I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I can our live.
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
Do it. Oh, I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I can our live.
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
Do it. Oh, I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I can our live.
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
Do it. Oh, I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I can our live. I bet it is.
Can you do that?
I don't know how.
Badass.
Do it. Oh, I guess I'm in both, so I can do. I can our live.
Can you do that?
All right. So now that's not going to happen. We won't have that
I'm
sound.
gonna say we're live streaming in 10 minutes.
Yeah, now-ish. We'll probably start in 5. 5. Tumbling down the wall. We got to put like horror. We're gonna have to set up.
Let me get my soundboard up for Halloween.
Well, you know he's got it.
It's just this. Can I get your ghost, Bob?
I watched a special about that last week. It was very informative. There's actually some stuff that I didn't know about the movie that I learned from watching it. It's pretty weird. So, do. Now people actually can see me headbanging to the theme song.
That is true.
Is this setup okay with you guys?
That's fine.
Eventually we'll have to get you'll have to get a webcam so it'll be like widescreen so it doesn't look like you guys are sitting on a very tiny couch together. I'll bring my mic down a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to put some horror posters on the wall behind me when we podcast.
Tyler is actually a serial killer.
That's not fair.
We can start doing some product placement.
Shop smart. Shop
smart. You guys talk for a second. I want to hear how you sound.
Excited about not having school on Friday. That's pretty exciting stuff.
Brian, how do you sound?
Really pumped.
Hey, I'm
good.
I'm excited too.
Why don't you have school? Is it? Oh, I guess fall break.
Yup.
Mine was 2 weeks ago. I'm already ready for another break.
I hear that, guys.
I know, right? So, we won't be able to manage the chat. If we'd need to be live streaming the chat.
Who's going to do that?
Tyler,
you're on that.
I would, but see, the thing is, all the internet's coming. Like, I am streaming this and collecting the audio and doing. I guess we were both doing the heavy lifting on Skype, but
maybe
I wonder if it would kill my. I wish there was a way I could just pull up chat without streaming the video. I wonder if that's possible.
I don't know. I'm leaving that up to you. There's some things I can do, and some things I'm just not going to do, and that's one of those things.
You're just not going to manage the chat? You guys stay in the moment?
No, I can't reach the... Drew and I have a very limited space here.
That's true.
It's true.
But it's the video streaming in through mine. So if I move my window, then everyone who's watching the stream will see me like flipping around to the different windows.
I think you need another monitor.
Yeah, I guess I could do a dual monitor setup.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
I have my other laptop. I mean, my other computer.
Yeah, there you go. Look at that delicious monster.
It is delicious. I just went for a run.
I've had 3 today.
God, I thought you were not doing 3 of them.
I can quit at any time. It's just been a rough week. I've been having to do a lot of shit for other stuff. So
yeah. So yeah, we can go and start. We can just say like this time we're just testing it out. Next time we'll have a chat ready, etc.
Can you tell if anybody's on?
No, because I don't have the stream open. If I have the stream open, then the audio is going to be completely fucked because it will.
All right, fuck it.
We won't do the chat this week. Unless I wish there was a way to pull up the chat. I bet through the Ustream app. So I'm gonna.
Is there a Ustream app?
I bet.
I bet.
Let's
see here. I'll have my sexiest voice on the night. Let's see how it's good. Let me see. I'm downloading it right now.
Okay, me too.
Well, if anybody happens to be watching us right now after I tweeted this,
we're getting ready to podcast. This isn't the wait around podcast.
You're watching sausage being made.
Fuck. I can't download it because I have to do account settings. What the fuck? Verify.
Live, the HorrorBull Podcast.
Okay. All right. What do you think? Let me know when you get logged in.
I'm trying.
Do or do not.
Well, I'm going to do, which is I am trying to do.
So the next movie we're going to do is Horns, correct? For next week?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to that movie.
Yeah, me too.
I'm reading The Bone Clock right now, David Mitchell's book.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not Hornsian, but it's a very literary version of something like that. It's really cool.
It's pretty horny.
It's definitely got some horns to it. It's a fucking good book. It's long though.
All right, I see us. Look, we're on the. Look at this. Oh
wow!
God.
Is there just a chat function?
I have to be logged in for it.
I'm gonna log in.
You're gonna log in as us? Isn't it just our regular stuff?
Yeah.
I'll let you do that. You can answer questions.
All right, let's go ahead and start, and then I'll be trying to mess with this while you do your spiel about all of the stuff. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the HorrorBull Podcast. I am Brian.
I'm Tyler.
And I'm Drew.
And this week, the week that we're recording here, it's Halloween's on Friday. And some of us will be at the Frightening Ass Film Festival.
All of us, everyone.
I don't know that I'll be able to make it. Yeah. Just
now, Drew backed out.
Stuff.
That's why I said all of us.
We'll see.
It's an uncomfortable situation on this end of things. So don't
you guys stop fighting. Now. Get over what you need to get over.
So, so Friday night, if you're in Chattanooga, Halloween, come by Barking Legs Theater, the Frightening Ass Film Festival. We'll have comedians. We'll have
movies. Will there be movies there?
And, and of course movies. I was getting to that. We'll be showing The Demon's Rook, The Babadook, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 40th anniversary print. We'll also have Jeff Burr of Leatherface fame there to introduce our Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The guys from The Demon's Rook are going to be there to do some Q&As. We'll also have a costume contest and the bands White Reaper and So Crow. I'm not a huge fan of rap, but he played at Chattanooga Film Festival and was pretty amazing. So
He did a great job
White
live.
Rooster's a great little rock band.
Dude does a great job live. There's no doubting that.
Yeah, and keeping with the theme of before we get to that, social media, guys.
What is
Twitter.
that?
It's pretty important nowadays.
It is. It's the number one thing in the world.
Is it behind Ebola? Ebola and then Twitter are the two number one things in the world. They're
So
like
tweets about
co-equal.
Ebola, gigantic.
Yeah, if you're tweeting about Ebola right now, you are huge. So yeah, the Twitter, our Twitter feed, follow that at HorrorBull Podcast, HorrorBullPcast. Sorry, I hope I didn't step on your toes, Brian.
It's fine. I'm fine. I'm used to it. I'm sure
Where else are we?
The Facebook or the HorrorBull Podcast. Google. I laugh every time I say Google Plus, but it's
still a thing.
Social media. Yeah,
It's still a thing. Well, it's
it's still a thing. Is it valid?
well, we're the
It's still
HorrorBull
a thing.
Podcast. There,
it's kind of
we're
like
also,
how Shoney's is still a thing. Like Shoney's still exists.
I ate at Shoney's not. It's probably been a year, but I ate there and got horrible diarrhea.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And on iTunes, we're just the HorrorBull Podcast, and we're on Stitcher, which apparently has now become Deezer. I got the email about that. I haven't
Bought out.
That seems like a really bad idea. I want to see the Deezer jokes.
Yeah.
Deezer's nuts.
Deezer nuts. Yeah.
So I haven't fully investigated that situation yet, but it's on the list along with a lot of other things.
Yeah. Also, if you want to email us wolfmansgotnards, NARDS, at thehorriblepodcast.com. If you have a question or a comment, want us to read something on the air, don't forget to email us at wolfmansgotnards. That's at the Horrible Podcast. That'll get you there.
And some of you may actually be watching us live stream this tonight. This is a
I'm
test.
waving.
Woo!
We're just seeing how this all works. Mine and Drew's face are the biggest ones.
Yeah, I'm the tiny one in the corner. It just shows my stature in the podcast.
Tyler's normally Tyler, of the three of us, has the biggest face. So he makes his windows smaller.
Heed, pants.
Yeah.
No.
That's exactly
It's
what
like Sputnik. I have literally the most head, and so that's why we have to make it smaller, because otherwise it wouldn't be able to live stream it. It would just crash the internet.
The most head, huh?
So tonight's episode, Brian, what are we doing this week? We're doing classic horror movies.
We are the last of our classic series, and the movie that we talk about, we reference from the director that we all know and love, and the fact that it's coming out on Halloween. Tonight we are doing Puppet Master.
Yes, the first Puppet Master.
We are doing Halloween 1979, John Carpenter.
78.
1978, John Carpenter.
Should have talked about that beforehand.
We'll take that out in post.
That's my birthday horror movie.
You were born October 31st, 1970?
No, I just share the year.
Oh,
What's your
gotcha.
birthday horror?
My birth, I guess. 75, so I don't know what. Jaws, yeah.
It's Jaws. And I guess yours
Evil
is
Dead.
The Thing.
The Thing, yeah. Or in
Hey,
Evil Dead.
let me
Evil
just
Dead
jump
was
right into
82.
this. Did anybody else notice that when Lori is babysitting that kid, that she is actually
Tommy
watching?
Doyle?
No, the girl. I'm sorry, not Lori, but
Annie.
She's actually watching the original Thing on the TV.
Noticed that like
The Thing.
many times ago.
The Thing from Another World, and what was the other? The bigger trivia question is, what was the other movie that they watched that night? There was another science fiction movie that they watched.
Science fiction double feature.
Yeah, it was a double feature. It was Thing from Another World and Escape from.
Which mountain?
No, something. It was something though. Like I can't. How did I forget that?
Oh, Kyle Richards' sister Kim in Escape from Witch Mountain. That we did have a Real Housewife in Halloween.
Yeah, I watched it with my girlfriend, and she told me that there's
Oh,
That's
Kim
Kyle
Richards.
Richards.
Kyle Richards, yeah.
Whose sister is Kim Richards, who's in the Escape movies.
How about that?
Yeah. Or actually, be more interesting to us, Kim Richards is in Assault on Precinct 13. She's the ice cream girl.
Oh,
So
the one
that's
that gets
Kyle.
brutally murdered.
Yeah. And that's Kyle, her sister.
So I think-
Halloween. Probably one of the most disturbing scores of any horror movie ever. It ranked that theme song after of the big four we've watched, even though Texas Chainsaw Massacre doesn't really have a yeah the sound of a Polaroid camera. This has probably got to be the best of the scores.
Oh yeah,
just because the music plays such a ominous role in it. Of letting you know when Michael's there, or the it ranks up there with The Exorcist Tubular Bells and the creepiness factor.
Yeah, I would say that. I mean, music is more necessary in this film than it is in a lot of others in creating the mood, because the movie Halloween is such a bright film for most of it. I mean, a lot of it's set during the day. And even though there are a few moments where it sort of like kicks in where I don't feel like it needs to during the day, just like quick little pops in, it still is just, I mean, it is the most sort of categorically, like explicitly known horror music that I can think of, other than maybe the Jaws music.
That was so terrifying. That was so terrifying.
That was a cat. That's the cat. You guys keep going. I'll be back in a second.
That was amazing. Like the door just creeped open as you started talking. Oh my god.
There was nothing there.
Yeah, the music done by John Carpenter.
Well, yeah, certainly. Well, I mean, I've watched several of the docs and listened to commentary and things like that. It talked about how he had shown a cut of it without music, and everyone was looking at it and was like, it's not very good. And then he shows the cut with music, and all of a sudden, everyone, the executives are showing to is like, oh, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
It's a terrifying movie.
So, one of the things that I noticed about this movie this time around, Halloween, is that it's a much, like, the violence in this movie is much more sexualized than I had ever remembered it being. And it was just, I was looking at it, just like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre last week, I was looking at it more critically and happened upon some of the things that I had no idea were there before. Like, all of the violence in Halloween is very super sexualized. And, I mean, it was on purpose, but it's way more disturbing now that I was actually looking at it and thinking about what kind of violence. Like, what is this movie saying about violence? What is this movie saying about all of those deeper questions. But like, everything is almost like weirdly sexual in this movie.
Even the first when Michael murders his sister, the way she screams is almost like it's an orgasmic kind of sound. It's not even like I don't know how to explain it. It's not even a terrified sound. It's more like I mean, we can get into the nitty gritty if you need to.
Well, it almost seems like that, unlike a lot of the other killers we've experienced so far, except maybe, I mean, obviously Freddy Krueger, the violence here it's not explicitly sexual, but it is very, very implicitly sexual. I mean, the way that he killed his sister, the circumstances surrounding how he killed his sister, Judith, and then the way that everything happened afterwards is really very overtly sexual. And I had no idea. It doesn't change how I think about the film, but it's definitely apparent that Michael has weird sexual kinks.
Well, and the other thing I thought of too as I watched this is I've made this comment many times before on this podcast, on other episodes, is that the 70s must have smelled horrible, but man, they had the best boobs.
I would say that Halloween would not smell bad.
You don't think so?
No.
I mean, PJ Souls is smoking in the. We'll get to the complete lack of consideration for other people's homes by teenagers later on in this podcast. But all I kept thinking of is like it was a good time for films and a good time for nudity in films, the 70s and the 80s.
So Drew, what were you going to say?
I just gloss right over my comment. That's fine.
Well, what do you want to talk about with the boobs? There aren't much.
That was it.
There aren't many.
That was it.
You seem very.
I seem kind of
briefly. I've never considered I guess still what it always comes down to is with his. I've never thought about any of the sexualization of any of it, because they just always seem to harp on the fact that as far as motive and everything goes, he's just evil.
Yeah,
it's just that whole idea that he's just.
Maybe it's not Maybe it's not motivation, but just the follow through. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and I'll say that after watching this film, with giving it a critical eye this time, I actually think I like it a little less now compared to the other three.
Why is that? I want to hear this. This is interesting.
The other three movies.
No, I'm still saying, the other three.
I'll say that I'll go ahead and say I like Nightmare on Elm Street the best of the four we've watched.
Whoa!
Nightmare age as well.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Some of it had to do with the fact that, first of all, granted, murdering one person as a 9-10-year-old kid.
6.
Huh?
6. He was 6 years old.
6-year-old kid is horrible, but
I spent 8 years.
He only killed one person, guys. Come on.
It's pretty brutal as a 6-year-old to just viciously murder her and then never say anything again.
I just was not convinced.
Looking at the wall, staring through the wall.
And I also wasn't convinced that Donald Pleasance's kid, Loomis, was not crazy. You know how in all these movies, too, besides Texas Chainsaw Massacre, is it takes a huge leap of faith for any police officer to believe anything anyone says about what's going on. That the police officer in the father of, is it Laurie's father in Halloween?
It's Annie's.
It's Annie's father.
Sheriff Brackett,
yeah.
Lee Brackett.
It's a big leap of faith to believe that Loomis's idea that there's a crazy man who killed his family has now escaped the mental asylum and he's headed back to this exact same town on this night. Given the cockamamie story that Loomis has told him about Michael, like if someone told me that, I'd be like, all right, dude. Okay, I get maybe you spent a little too much time around him. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think that all of these movies require that kind of thing, and
I'm not saying that I don't believe Halloween is a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination.
Of course not.
Any stretch of the imagination. I found that as watching these 4 films critically, I wound up at the end of it all liking Nightmare on Elm Street the best.
Halloween just looks so much better than all of them combined, though. Halloween is a fantastic. It's a great movie to just watch.
Totally, and I love the score.
Totally.
But no, also stuff like is this town shut down at 3:00 in the afternoon on Halloween?
That's a small town, Illinois. Sure.
Back then,
the hardware store is closed at 3 p.m.
Well, it's been broke. Oh yeah, that's true.
What's to break into to get their masks and their rope and their knives?
Right,
We'd have to look at the actual. Maybe it was a Sunday. Maybe we don't know. No, I guess it was a Thursday or something.
They're gonna have the
dance on Friday
because they're getting ready for the homecoming game and dance, which is the next day. And I think it says on the school sign it says something on Saturday.
Okay.
Do they
something weird like that?
Do they explain where the fuck all the parents are on Halloween night?
I don't think you ever had to do that in those movies. Well, no, they do in 2. They're all at because it's the same thing. Well, you think that's weird? The abandoned hospital in 2, I think, is even more strange.
The 4 people working at night in a hospital.
Yeah. The adults, because they talk about where Laurie's parents are, they're all at a country club party, I believe.
Yeah.
Halloween party at the country club, something like that.
It's like in Satan's Little Helper, how all the parents have gone to that one party where
exactly.
Yeah, where Amanda
is a reference kind of.
But well, maybe
Amanda Plummer.
But she's like, I'm dying. I've got plastic over my mouth. This isn't that's Jennifer. I'm doing Jennifer too.
It's yeah, no. It definitely. It just speaks to the idea here that, again, in talking about the ennui and the anxiety of suburban life, that parents sort of they don't have to raise their kids anymore because it's safe now. Life is safe, that they don't have to worry about their kids. And that's what I like about this movie, is that it reintroduces the idea that even if you've made it to the suburbs, even if you have been successful enough to live in the suburbs, things can still get crazy and weird. And I really actually dig that a lot about this film.
The suburbs have no charms to soothe the restless dreams of youth. So
thank you, Arcade Fire.
That wasn't Arcade Fire.
I know.
That was Rush.
Subdivision. Know your shit, brother.
So, but going back to
have no charms to soothe the restless dreams of youth.
Of course, I don't think we've heard a lot of singing recently, have we? I think
no, we haven't. I haven't done much singing.
Is your throat better? Has it been ailing you?
It is.
So as far as I think the movie moves so well, though, as far as being paced, I think I can understand why you would prefer maybe to watch Nightmare, but I think this movie's so much more well paced. than Nightmare is. It seems to move along at a pretty quick clip. Although I do say I do think that some of the scenes are. John Carpenter seems in this movie to be more concerned with convincing. Like he seems very concerned with showing you how Michael Myers got his unit, like how he got in
everything.
Right. Like we have to. I've always found the scene where he finds the red truck and the red rabbit matches so bizarre and out of place. Like this, it shows that he's on the right track, but it's also, why do we have to know how he got the jumpsuit? Like that makes no sense to me at all.
But almost, I mean, it's almost like I find it hard to believe that they'd stop at the exact same place.
Right. That he'd be able to find him on this backwoods road. Like there must be only one road into and out of Haddonfield, and it's like a dead end street.
But then again, I guess
it's a dead end street.
Is it 4 when he runs into Michael at the after he breaks out of the ambulance, and he runs into him at the rundown truck stop? I guess it is, where he's killed everyone. Like,
I think it is 4.
Yeah, 4. I'm pretty sure.
I don't remember. Like all.
Yeah.
4 and 5 just sort of blend together. 4, 5, and 6 even really kind of blend together.
Well, 4, I mean, 5 remember begins with after he's been
shot by a machine gun,
attacking after Daniel Harris's character attacks the mom and all that, and so it's the beginning. I'm pretty sure of 4 where he comes back. He's there. He's burned. Loomis is. That's how he survived the hospital. Is some burns.
Yeah, the explosion. No, it was just an explosion. It wasn't an explosion. It was an explosion.
I don't remember much of the other parts of these movies. I remember. I mean, I barely remember 2.
I mean, that's the detriment of the series.
Huh?
I think that's the detriment of the series, is that no one really remembers the other movies that much.
I remember 2. I mean, 2 works pretty well.
Yeah. I actually remember 3 the best out of all of them, even though it's not in the canon. I mean, it's not in. Michael's not in it.
3's underrated, though. Yeah. I agree.
Well, I mean,
it looks really good.
The stories of why 3 was made, and that was he wanted to make it almost like a serial where each story was different for every Halloween.
Like each movie was like a charm, and so you put them all together with some oats, and then it's very lucky for them. No, I agree with you. Like I don't think the series holds up that well overall, because the movies get so. I don't know why this character seems to have had the hardest time. Maybe it's because of the constraints of the environment. Like there's only so many times a dude like this can walk into like a suburban environment, just hack people to pieces, and it makes sense. I kind of like the idea of like they'd continued the series where he just follows Laurie Strode wherever she goes. Like if it had gone directly from her house and babysitting to the hospital to then a mental asylum to then somewhere else that she would have gone after a mental asylum. Just every movie is like, how far is he going to follow her to try to kill her? That would have been interesting to me.
I saw a great Photoshop thing on Facebook today. It was Michael in a walker and Jamie Lee Curtis on the couch. It was like, now that Michael can't scare the shit out of me, I eat Activia.
That's funny.
I like 1 as much as anything for that senselessness of it. That like not having, like, it's hard to watch it now. We know he's after Laurie because Laurie's his sister, but we don't know that until 2.
Right.
Yeah.
And that reveal in 2 is pretty interesting, because like, oh, that's why he's doing this. But it's so cool up to then to think, what the hell's this guy? What's his deal? You know, it's just like
he's just a pervert. Like at that point, my reading of it now is he's a pervert. Like if you look at those scenes, okay, he murders his sister. Literally moments after she's finished having sex with obviously the worst lay in the world.
Sex.
Yeah, the worst lay in the world,
at least.
So he kills her, and then he kills. Like even for me, even the scene with the nurse, there was something odd about that. But I'll ignore that one. But if you get to like later, obviously he pulls the headstone for Judith, his sister, who obviously has a thing for. He definitely has a thing for his sister. But every other murder in the rest of the movie. Not Annie, but what was the other?
Linda.
Linda's is obviously sexualized and sexual because of the strangulation and mistaking it for sex sounds. But Annie's, I had never really read as a sexual death, but in a car with the windows fogged up is a definite, in any other movie would have been taken like a sexual, something's happening in this car, like don't come a knocking kind of thing. And I think that even that one is very sexual because she makes a weird, almost, it's silly but almost orgasmic face as she's being strangled.
Oh yeah, well, and the noise she makes as he's, and at first I didn't really like, as her boyfriend's Paul, right? She's going to pick Paul up.
Mm-hmm. Paul.
And, even watching it now, I kept thinking, I was like, oh, well, I could see how this confused. Like maybe it was supposed to make you think that maybe it was Paul in the back seat playing a trick on her. So maybe she didn't know that she was being. I mean, she realized she was being murdered eventually, but at the same time, she didn't know. And I had down here in my notes too. It was like at the core of this movie, Michael is just a fucking creeper.
He is, because there's a scene where Linda's having sex. And they're finishing up or something, and he's in the room. Like there's a scene of, and I know like the reason, it seems as though Carpenter did not intend for it to be like an overt, like a reading of like, oh, he's a sexual pervert. They just wanted to have another scene where he's sort of looming around, and we know that he's going to murder them. Loomising around. But the fact of the matter is that he's in a bedroom while they're ostensibly having sex, and not ostensibly, literally, but
literally
finishing.
Which one are you talking about? When they're on the couch?
No, when they're in the bed.
He is looming there, but then when we see a shadow
in the bedroom, when the shadow like moves across the screen.
Because you get both of those.
And it's hard to believe that these people are again. These are high schoolers.
Yeah, like it's definitely. We grew up in a different age. It seems like they were this was definitely very like free love 70s, like in the wake of like flower power stuff. So.
And drunk driving was both okay and
the cans, the cans crinkling out of the van.
You get out of the car and the cans fall.
Well, I mean, you got to think though. I mean, this is the point at which we're establishing all those Scream's rules as to what can happen, even down to the point where, I mean, what is not Paul? What is Tom?
She's like, I'll be right back.
Yeah, so I'll be right back.
Tom?
I didn't notice that. I saw a lot of I picked up on a lot more of the Scream, like what Scream referenced in this film this time around too, of that. So
you guys keep talking like, but when her boyfriend when he goes down to get her a beer.
Yeah, and he says, "I'll be right back," and does and walks out, and then she giggly laughs. I mean, that's straight out of
Don't Get Dressed.
Randy's rules, and then that's when Matthew Lillard walks backwards out of the room. Well, I'll be right back. Ooh. Yeah.
Bob is
Bob.
Yeah,
Bob. That's exactly. What's the matter, Bob? Can I get your ghost?
Yeah.
Her giggle. I love PJ Soles though.
I do too. She was great in Carrie.
There.
I mean, yeah. There's also sort of a lot of gender reversal here. Not reversal. That's not what I mean. But like Bob is the one who goes to get the beers. And I know that like the intent is for him to go down and get murdered in this very specific kind of way, but it's kind of neat that she's not the one doing the serving. Like she's not the one going to get the beers. He is. And it's kind of interesting the way the gender politics play in this. And it shows Deborah Hill's influence on the script. And I do love the dialogue and the writing at certain parts of this. I think
girls' dialogue, one of the greatest things is the girls' dialogue with each other.
I think sometimes the Donald Pleasant stuff is like, it's pleasantly hokey, but it's still very like second-rate crime novel kind of stuff.
It's also like
the evil is gone.
He's gone from here.
You've mentioned, and Drew, you have commented that he didn't know what he was doing at the time, but it is almost like he's in a different. It's like
it's like he's in a different movie.
It's like listening to the commentary on the DVD of Seven, where Morgan Freeman is not with David Fincher and Brad Pitt. So it's like everything Brad Pitt and David Fincher are joking about, it'll then cut to Morgan Freeman saying something completely different about the scene. That's what I got the idea that Loomis was doing too. It's like the guy is batshit crazy.
The sequence in the car where we really get to first establish him, and she's asking all the questions like, "You really don't want him to get out?" Never. Yeah. And it's just all the things he says. That Thorazine, he'll barely be able to stand up. That is the idea.
But, and then the scene when they
it is the law.
or whatever. Whenever she says, "Can we? Do you want to refer to it as him?" What does he say? Whatever you say. If you say so. I love it. I sort of love his.
I like to.
His apathy in the beginning, like I almost wish we had gotten his sort of like apathetic mission. Like he has just gone from he does play it like someone who had dealt with this monster for 15 years, and it's like an apathetic mission. Like it's like finding the Grail. He has to do it. It's his job. He can't help but do it. But at this point, he's bored with it, and then he goes like. And immediately as he realizes Michael's gone, like a switch turns, and it's amazing. Like the moment that the evil's gone, he's gone from here. Love
That's
it.
what she's like when she's like pulling up, and she's like, "Do you want to go on, move?"
The evil's gone from here.
I mean, it is. I mean, you can tell. 'Cause, I mean, he's just very. It's what we got to do when he's in the car, and then all of a sudden he sees that the music kicks in, and he goes running over to the gate, and he's like, "Shit."
Yeah.
But it's also the moment he's been waiting for. He's like, he knows it's coming. He said it. He said, watch this guy for 15 years. I tried to help him for 8, for 9.
Yeah, he's like, he stared out that wall.
Yeah, looking through the wall
this day.
Yeah.
In his but the that scene where they come up onto
the devil's eyes,
the insane asylum, and that always freaked me out. All those crazy people just walking around outside as the rain pours. I'm like, God damn, that's creepy to watch.
It also is weird how uninterested everyone in a place of authority is, though. Like Brian, you say that it's like a leap of faith, but I also think like if all these people escaped. Or they were wandering around, and this one guy escapes. Someone who we know for a fact murdered his sister just up and leaves.
12 years ago, or 18 years ago.
15 years ago.
15 years ago.
Man,
still though, that would create chaos. Like that's still a huge event that a person who murdered someone else forcibly. Like, do we know how they got where they was? Was that Michael's doing? Do we ever know that? That's something I meant to follow up on. Like, do we know?
It's one that I've always assumed. It's one I've always assumed. Yeah. I mean,
that's if we watch the Rob Zombie one, then yes.
But we're not.
Yeah.
We're not counting that as canon.
Well, it's not canon here.
It's canon here.
It doesn't make sense. I mean, I still argue. I think one of the biggest weaknesses that version of Halloween has is Malcolm McDowell's Loomis isn't right.
He's too concerned.
Well, but he's also just too Malcolm McDowell. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the thing about Loomis in this one is, I mean, the very idea that he is Donald Pleasance is a different thing. Like Malcolm McDowell already brings with him some such baggage as an actor that you're already like, well, I'm not sure this is the guy that I would trust to do this. He's not the guy I'm behind for this.
The McDowellian school of acting.
But I don't know. Yeah, I assume Michael did that. Yes, and you're right. When Loomis is having the conversation with Dr. Wynn, I think it is, of Smith's Grove Sanitarium when they're leaving, and he's still trying to make everyone's always trying to make excuses to Loomis and make it his fault.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I love is how everyone's trying to pawn this off on Loomis, who is the only person who during any of this has sit there and said, "This is what we need to do." And someone else doesn't do it, and then they try and throw it back on him. It's like, well, you should have. I've told everyone. It's
so
like
so what you're saying is the real monster of this movie is bureaucracy.
Essentially,
yeah.
They just let Loomis do what he wanted to do to Michael from the get-go, which I'm sure is lobotomize him maybe.
I think like really one of the big problems with these early slasher movies is that they have sort of an illogical air about them when it comes to what are the killers doing in the hours between murders. Like this is the most prominent example. I think we talked about it with A Nightmare on Elm Street as well. Like what does Freddy do? Well, he walks around and cuts his fingers off to scare people. Like that's part of what he does. But what does he do in the other hours? Here we have a lot of scenes of Michael just sort of like driving around, and it's both hilarious and unintentionally hilarious at times because Carpenter, as much as he wants us to know how Michael got his jumpsuit, he also wants us to know what Michael's doing in the hours leading up to the murder. Is like they have to know where he is at all times.
I'd like to. As I was watching this, I thought to myself, like, I'd like to see the found footage of like if Michael was carrying around a GoPro now of like, how he got out of people's ways when they came to find him after they saw him, like, oh shit, he's over there in the bushes, and then the scene of him running like at top speed away to hide from them.
I was thinking, especially in the backyard when he's behind the clothes and then he's not, so he essentially just dives into the bushes when he's like, she saw me.
Lay still, Michael. Lay still. Shh, 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 shh.
Like what is Michael thinking in those scenes? Like what's going on? Like that would be a funny short. But what is driving him to follow? Like I don't know. It's just so weird that he's following around Laurie Strode, but then just like diving out of the way anytime she comes close. He's a bad stalker. He's wearing a mask, and no one. That's one of the things that Kate brought up was how is no one calling this person on? Like someone would have called the cops at some point with a guy driving around during the day wearing a mask, or is this just the naive 70s?
Yeah, Halloween
the naive 70s. Yeah.
But I think that's the thing where this movie doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be watched, at least his character, and I never watch him as a real this crazed murderer going around and doing this as much as that. I think that's why they build him up so much in the dialogue to be this just pure embodiment of evil. So when he disappears from the laundry, it's because he fucking disappears.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People don't notice him because he's there, but he's not there.
I love that idea.
He is this just pure force of just driven force of pure evil kind of deal. And that's where I've always gone with it, and just never, sat down and thought about the silliness of it in being a regular person kind of deal, going around and doing this. And
it seems like it was easier to be evil in the 70s too. Like it didn't take much to be evil.
What do you mean? Talk a little bit about that. What do you mean?
So the idea that he, like I said, he killed his sister. Right. He killed one person, sent to the insane asylum. And then we're all basing our idea of how crazy and soulless this guy is on Donald Pleasance's description.
I put more faith in him as a narrator than you do, apparently.
Maybe that's probably what it is, then. Is I just keep thinking that if I was a cop in that town, I would think Donald Pleasance was out of his fucking mind. Like, this old fucker is over here just, I got all sorts of shit to deal with. I got these kids running around, bashing pumpkins, and breaking into hardware stores, stealing masks. And this guy comes to me from another part of the state telling me that this guy got out of the insane asylum who killed his sister 15 years ago, and now he's going to come back and wreak havoc on my town.
And again, to me, that speaks to the banality of evil. Like, evil is and like the bureaucracy of evil as well. Like, we have a convicted murderer on the loose, and I have to worry about kids breaking into hardware stores, like, which is also literally Michael and not the kids breaking into the hardware store.
That's the thing I wonder now. I've always thought it was Michael, but I don't know that it is now. I think it might be kids. I think it might be the kids later. Like, we see kids later with masks and things like that. Because I've always thought it was Michael, but it makes no sense now. He already had his mask. We've already seen that.
Yeah, that's the other part that confused me too. Is that, and I got confused because I kept thinking of the Rob Zombie's Halloween, where they show Michael break into the hardware store to get the stuff, and so it was in my mind. I thought, oh, that scene must be in the original as well, but it's not. Yeah. So we just assume that that's Michael that does that to go get the mask,
but and the rope and the knives, but watching it last night. Part of me just started to assume it's like, Michael's already got that. He's already been driving around. Why? Either that alarm has just been going off, either the alarm's been going off for a long time, right? Terrible cops,
right?
Or the alarm has just been going off because it actually is unconnected. It's not part of the main narrative. It's just something else that's happening.
And also too, when he jumps over the station wagon and then takes over the car, I was like, how does this guy know how to drive? It's addressed like a couple of scenes later. I was like,
certainly.
oh well, I guess
with just a throwaway line last night. I also think the sound effect at that point is my least favorite moment in the film. Like, overall, that's my least favorite moment in the film, when he leaps. The
Spider-Man
weird
from the 70s.
Yeah, like just the scene, the way it's shot, and The shot and the sound effect itself is just really bizarre.
Hang on, Kylo. Let me hook up my sound effects.
Oh, please do. That's exactly what we need on this podcast.
I think the saddest moment in the entire franchise, and not sad as in like bad, I mean like literally sad, is when Loomis is looking one way, and the car drives by, and he looks the other way, and he misses it, and it's like, all of those people could have lived. Yeah. It's like it's the most tragic little moment there. It's like if you had just turned around and looked at the street, you would have seen the car, and all this is over.
It's also the most hilarious moment in the entire movie. Like, it's also so funny to me when I see it now. I'm just like, that is hilarious.
You missed your chance.
You missed it.
Does Michael know? That's my question too. Does he even realize? Because I like to think, go back to the short we're talking about. Now he's just like just giggling up a storm at the fact that, oh, look, he's right there and he missed me.
Like, he obviously has a sense of humor.
You get when you pull something off, you're like, oh my god, I got away with it.
Well, I like to think he's also, if anything, probably still a 6-year-old in like an adult body at that point as well. And I mean, I think that's kind of where he's stuck as well in this, this endless loop of, of whatever this childish, it's evil now, but this childish morality that he feels he has to be some sort of angel of death for, ensuring that, the purity of these women exists or whatever it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's so bizarre like that. I think that's what makes this
druidness of him. Of course, we learn later.
God, I think that's why the sexual angle is so unsettling now. Is because I think it does exist. Like, he's a druid sex maniac, which is the band we should start.
Right. He's a Jewish sex maniac, as they would say in Spaceballs.
The amount of time that's spent with a parent staring at him as the camera pulls away.
I love it. I like to think that they're like. I like to always think that they're just frozen in like a it's like the end of a play. But then you see the mom move. But they're so still.
And she's if you pay attention to her, she's making like a face like, oh, Michael again, like the.
You're doing this again.
He's killed something before.
Oh sure. I mean their house is littered. The underneath of their house, the crawl space is littered with animals and stuff that he has murdered.
That's also like that weird tableau at that moment. I think is also one of the weaker moments, like one of the more laughable moments in the movie now. But I think that Carpenter kind of knew that, like he was exposing this moment, like having it soak in. So again, like realistically, that doesn't work as a moment because no one would just stand there that way, especially if a kid's holding a bloody knife.
Michael.
But it still works. Like, to me, I still like that shot. I know that Carpenter was just like, just stand there. We're gonna pull back. We got this crane shot. Yeah. But
got a crane to use, so let's use
it.
We rented it
today. Let's just use it.
Like, I would have just been like, hey, go and take him inside. We're gonna pull back. Take him inside. Just go. I don't know.
Or at least have a parent scream at the bloodiness.
Well, you think that, I mean,
the dad run in or something.
What we'd see now is someone would run in, someone would be like, Michael, what happened? And that, and someone would run in, and then they'd see the daughter, and you'd hear that scream or something, and then it'd probably go. And then we'd go to black, having zoomed back in on Michael's blank face.
Or the mom is a stripper, and she comes to visit him every day in the. No,
I would say
check out that movie.
My hypothesis about that moment though is that what Carpenter means to convey is that we spend the entire first scene entirely from Michael's perspective when the mask is taken off. For Michael, that is a moment which has frozen in time for 15 years, and like I think that's what Carpenter was going for there, and it sort of plays silly, but I think.
I love it.
Actually. That's what I take from it is this is a moment in time that he has been contemplating and thinking about in sort of like suspension for the last 15 years.
He's been looking at the wall, looking through the wall,
looking at the wall. And that's what he's been seeing is that moment, like that moment of getting caught or something. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's where I was stopped. I think that's where he's starting from again.
Yeah.
It was Halloween.
Work to do.
It was a Halloween years ago, and I've still got to do this. I've got another sister out there. Interestingly enough, though, she's not having sex. So why is he so worried about her?
Yeah, really. She is not. She's the only one who's not having sex.
Who doesn't even want to. Like, she even gets a date, and then she gets like all, ooh, don't know. Call him back. No.
I was born with both pieces of genitalia.
Poor Ben Tramer, of course.
Ben Tramer,
as we learn, he dies in 2.
There's also some weird sex. Like, there's also something weirdly sexualized sexual like rolled up into that because he's killed because he's wearing the very same mask that Michael is wearing when he gets killed. So there's something there. Carpenter definitely has like an interesting take on the Michael psyche that he's never really discussed at great length. But there's a lot there. It has like the Hemingway 9/10 thing where just a little bit's above the surface and there's so much below the surface.
I watched the film. I had the 35th anniversary Blu-ray. I watched it with the commentary on. So ask me any question. I know exactly the answer.
What was he thinking?
Yeah, it's nice.
He was thinking that, man, is this payday going to be sweet?
God. So have you watched the 35th anniversary with the commentary at all?
No,
of course not.
I've watched the commentary that's on my Anchor Bay DVD. The first one they released.
I think so. Yeah, I have the 25th.
This one's a new recording, so he's had some more time to think about it.
Yeah.
I had the 25th anniversary DVD, but I probably accidentally sold it like a moron.
Well, I mean, remember they didn't. It took a while before they did that commentary. That commentary was one of the reasons I bought. I think the last version that I did buy of it was the commentary because I think I had to buy one version to get the TV version of the movie, and then I bought another version to get the commentary. And it's like,
well, Scream Factory released the box set.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost bought it, but then I thought to myself, like what I talked about earlier, like I'm not that big of a fan of this series to have bought this box set. I bought
I still want it.
It would be great to have as a collection.
I mean, I've got Nightmare and I've got Halloween. I mean,
sure.
I mean, I've got Nightmare and Friday the 13th. Which that's not a series. I mean, I still watch those occasionally. I'll pick one out, and say, oh, let's watch something that's not Seven.
Right.
Apparently there's a problem with like disc Halloween 4 from that set that they're having to replace.
I knew they were replacing one.
They're replacing a disc that was messed
if
up.
If there's one to replace, it's that one.
What I like to think is it took a while to figure that out because no one got to 4 for a while.
Right. It'd be 3 years before everyone just realized, like, oh, hang on a second.
Wait, something's wrong with. I like it. The idea. Wait, something's wrong with Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. Oh, I never watched it, so it wouldn't help.
I have never seen the second.
I saw it in the theater, and I was more or less by myself in that on opening day.
Pretty empty. I had a bad speaker, and it made the experience really
like the person who was standing up front talking was.
They were like,
I wish.
In this, it was
a narrator. Like, okay, in this scene, Malcolm McDowell is.
I
still
think
alive.
it's a high school motivational speaker.
Yeah,
right.
That's up there going, Satan.
No, I wish, but I mean, it's even grimier and dirtier and grungier than his first one. I mean, that's really just really just
and like less connected to reality. Like
it's
way
really
less connected to reality.
And just disgustingness. It's like,
no, now I want to see it.
I mean, it's definitely worth a viewing.
It's provocative, but it's not coherent. Like,
right. Yeah.
Well, that what you just said
didn't want
goes.
to make it though, right? I mean, if I recall, he didn't want to make it.
Yeah, he didn't want to make it, but they were like, make another one. He was like, I want to make the movie I want to make, and they were like, okay, fine. And then he just went out and made this bizarre ass movie. I kind of like that balls where he's like, I'm just gonna make the movie I want to
do it. Yeah.
I like to think Rob Zombie's career has all been based upon fuck it.
Nah, fuck it. Yeah.
Will he deign to like placate the studio, or will he just do what he wants?
I remember watching his interviews when he did House of a Thousand Corpses. One of his things was like, I watched this movie and I thought, God, that sucks. I can make a movie that sucks just as much as that one and probably get it out.
Yeah, I mean,
have you ever heard